Good morning. I'm Reverend Jenna Watkins, and welcome you all to this Sunday morning at the Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast. And if you haven't already remembered, please take this time to silence your cell phones. For those of you who have never been to a Center for Spiritual Living, we believe that there is one God and many paths to that God, and we are here to love, honor, and support you no matter what your divine path is. The Center for Spiritual Living Space Coast is a safe haven for people of all beliefs and lifestyles. So whoever you are and wherever you find yourself on your journey of faith, you are welcome here. So today it's the Rivera show because Patrice and Edgar Rivera will be doing the reading, practitionering, and speaking. Patrice Rivera is our guest speaker today. Reverend Ron Fox has this Sunday off. Just a reminder, the book group still meets on Tuesday at 2 p.m. online, and their book is called Fear is a Choice. So everybody is welcome to join. Also, as a reminder, Reverend Dr. Ron and Becky will be teaching a conscious aging class, and there's a sign-up sheet in the back. So if you're interested, please sign up. Also, next week is our annual meeting, and everybody is invited. And please, we appreciate it if you show up because we appreciate your ideas and thoughts and contributions to our center. And also to let you know that Becky has won a specialized award for her artwork, her spiritual artwork from the Centers for Spiritual Living. Don't know the official title of it, but next week they will be telling you more about that and include a videotape of her acceptance speech for when she received the award at the convocation last week. So we'll have that to look forward to. And if you see Becky, congratulate her. So now we have more music. Oh, excuse me. This is birthday Sunday? Oh. Sorry, it's not birthday Sunday. But if your birthday is today, happy birthday.
And speaking of that inward journey that Eddie Watkins sung about, let's get prepared for that inward journey by taking in that nice deep breath and letting it out slowly, purposefully, letting your gaze soften, your eyes close, shoulders relax, breathing into that heart center. That place of the now, of the present, that divine gift. For from this place, I absolutely know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's only one. There's only one love, one energy, one harmony, one song, many singers. There's only one love that embraces and encompasses everything, everywhere, always, forever, no matter what. There is no spot where God is not. So I know that right here, right now, as each one of us celebrate the oneness, the wholeness, the love that we are, we fill this room. As we fill this room, we fill this building. We fill this county. We fill this state. We fill this country with the love that is the divine, that universal truth of oneness. And from that place of oneness, I absolutely know that this joining of like-minded hearts, this joining of like-minded souls, this joining of like-minded beings is blessed. It is a blessing. It is a gift, not only for each and every one of us here participating, but it is a gift for what we take out into the world. We take that remembering of who we truly are. And so from this place, I am so grateful. I am so grateful for each and every heart that's here. I am so grateful for each and every mind that's open. I am so grateful for each and every being that took the time out of their day to be here, whether it's here in person or whether it's here listening during the week. Thank you. And thank you, Divine Spirit, for the gift that is life. May we live it in forward motion. And so it is.
Good morning. The reading I have today is from Courage, Conviction, and Consciousness, 365 Days of Inspiration from the Women of New Thought. And this is a beloved minister's wisdom. So it's a whole bunch of new thought, ancient wisdom. But it is done unto you as you believe. Right where the pain is, God is. Short prayers pierce heaven. Celebrate your epiphanies. God don't make no junk. Do not futurize your good. Clarify before you unify. Harmony is heaven's first law. That which I am seeking is seeking me. Act like a bouncer at the gate of your thoughts. Argue for your limitations, and that is what you'll get. The spirit that has brought me this far can take me the rest of the way. Don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big your God is. There is not a disease to be healed, but a perfect being to be revealed. We learn through inspiration or desperation. It's up to us. There is not something to do. There is something to know. Everything that comes to you comes to bless you. Do not ask for success and prepare for failure. God is always home. It's us who take a walk. Thought plus feelings equal demonstration.
I like that last one. Well, good morning again. And I know any of you who have ever, been here and seen me speak before are probably going, what is going on? She isn't standing up there with a stack of books and her copious 3x5 cards with all the salient points that she wants to make. You're right. She's not. They're in a bag in my kitchen by the door to my garage. Right. And so I wouldn't forget. Exactly. He thought
That's the fear of home
of leaving their talk. Yeah, well, there you go. I walked through that one. So it's a really wonderful thing that Ed chose 2 songs from Mile High, because I'm channeling my 40 years of being embroiled in Mile High for this talk. For it started out as, don't adjust your rear view mirror, but clean your windshield. So you would think that starts out as a talk about not looking back with regrets, those woulda, shoulda, couldas, but looking forward into what is our vision as we're going forward, right? Well, that's what I thought too when I started writing it. And then I kept reading and discovering bane of existence. You know what you're going to write. Don't ever read anything else. Because as I started writing, I realized really what it was about was judgment. On how we have judgment for every story that I wanted to talk about, I realized was actually about judgment. I realized that as we look in the rear view mirror at what was, and we long for it, we're judging. We're judging what was, we're judging what is. We don't want to live here, we want to live there. It reminded me of in the news this last week, there's a city, Ottawa, Michigan, who has decided that they want to live in their rear view mirror. They have elected radicals in there that are taking that county back 100 years. They don't like where we are now. They don't like the technology. They don't like women being able to work and have choices. So they're taking it back. They're living in their rear view mirror because they're judging. They're judging that this divine energy that created us, that put us here, didn't have the omnipotence to know that this is where we're going, to figure out that yes, you put humans down here and they're gonna, oh, we can't say that word here, can I? Mess things up. Yeah. Don't you think that God, that all-powerful being, actually knows? And so when we're looking in that rear view mirror, there's that divine inspiration that keeps saying, look forward, look forward, look forward. Look at the future. Look at the brain that you have in your body. Look what you can do with it. Look where you're going. Figure out where you're going. Have that vision for where you're going. And stop living in judgment. You know, that whole judge not, lest ye be judged. But we created a God in our likeness, rather than remembering that we're created in the divine's likeness. And so we have all of these human thoughts about judgment and shouldn'ts and shoulds and all of that. And we put those on the divine, thinking that we're not worthy because we don't live up to all of our own judgments. Do we really believe that universal spirit actually has all those judgments putting on us? I don't. I've been in what we used to call religious science for over 40 years. And that is the one thing that I gleaned out of it very strongly and very specifically, was God does not judge. Not ever. If the movie The Shack, if anybody's seen that, where God is a woman, I love that, a beautiful black woman actually, which infuriated many people when they saw the movie from the book, but I thought it was delightful. And at one point, because I'm not giving it away for those who haven't seen it, but there's someone in there that she's working with who's having trouble, a lot of trouble, very painful, and he wants the person responsible punished. And she is trying to explain to him, okay, you have 2 children and one does something wrong. Maybe they both do something wrong at different times from different judgments. Which one are you going to punish? Which one are you going to send to eternal damnation? And he says, I can't. And she goes, you think it's easier for me? I can't either. That's the God of that universal love, of the universal truth. That God that had made us in the image and likeness, that divine energy that puts that love, that compassion and that kindness in our hearts that sometimes we forget to use. So what I really found out as I was writing, yes, it was about judgment, but it was really about fear. Because as Marianne Williamson says in the Course of Miracles, everything is either love or fear. So judgment isn't love, so it has to be fear. And when you put everything in that context as, is this love? Oh, then it must be fear. Or everything is coming from love, or it's seeking love, kind of the same thing. Because if you're in fear, you're seeking love because you don't feel you have the love, right? So if everything is love or fear, then judgment has to be fear. And that fear, as I was reading, and I had such a wonderful quote, is that really we are all afraid that that divine love isn't telling us the truth, that it isn't really real. We're afraid of death because we're afraid that there really isn't an eternal life. We're afraid of our finances because we don't believe that just like the lilies in the field, we are supplied. We are afraid to put our heart and soul out there because we're really in fear that love is not the predominant force on this planet. But that isn't really the truth, is it? We know that there is only that one energy of love, that one divine inspiration in and through everything, that one divine artist. Speaking of which, did anybody see sunrise this morning? Oh my goodness, it was magnificent. That reminds us that there is an all-powerful energy that we are part of, that we tap into, that we remember to be part of when we do our work, and we forget to be part of it when we forget to do our work. And what's our work? Well, meditating, praying. That helps us remember. But sometimes it's choices. It's making those choices in the moment. My divine beloved here, many years ago, he says what he really is his fervent wish is to always respond in the love that he would respond in if he had time to think about it. But he wants to respond in that love immediately without thinking about it. Well, I'm not always great at that. I don't know that any of us ever are, but what a wonderful goal he has to actually stand in that place, to not have a reaction of anything other than love. Because isn't that what the universal source does? Isn't that what spirit really is? Never, ever responds anything other than love. So when we see things, whether they're in the windshield or the rear view mirror, that aren't coming from love, it's not God. It's not the divine. It's our picturing of what it is. It's where we're aligning ourselves with. Anything that we see out there, anything that we have judgment about out there, isn't really out there. It's in here. If we get upset about war and fighting, where's the war and the fighting in here? Who are we fighting with? Usually ourselves, sometimes other people too. I had the pleasure this week of talking to two 95-year-old people. I speak with them regularly because you just never know at that age when they might decide they don't want to be on this planet anymore. One is my mother, and the other one is a delightful friend of ours in Colorado. He's what, 4 months younger than my mother, but doing a whole host of ways mentally better than my mother does. But it was really, it's interesting to listen and to how much as we accumulate age, we live adjusting our rear view mirror, trying to make sense of what we did in the past instead of living in the future. And maybe that's because at 95 years old, they figure they don't have that much future left. But that's not true, because they have this moment and this moment, and that's the moments that matter. So what we do in this moment, right here, right now, even if that car is stationary and not moving, and we have the same view in the rear view mirror pretty much as we do in the front windshield, it's what we think, it's what we do, it's how we act, it's how we align ourselves. And it really comes down to trust. Do we trust that infinite presence or not? Do we trust? Do we believe that divine universal spirit has my back always, in all ways, always? I have to say, for the most part, I do. Can I say I perfectly do? Nah, because I forget. We all forget. I think that's part of the bane of being human. I think that's part of why we decided to come down here. It was like, we remembered all that stuff. It's like, oh, let's see if we can remember it when we get down here and get all filled with experiences. I had a teacher once who believed that the more challenges that we have when we're in this life now, the more really evolved spiritually we are, because we want to come down here and say, I'm going to remember this time. Okay, I remembered last time was easy, but I'm going to remember this time. And maybe we do. I have seen people who have an enormity of physical challenges that other people might have judgment about. Oh, why would you keep that baby? Or wouldn't you put them in a home? Or how could you live like that? And yet they are some of the kindest, sweetest, most genuine people on the planet. We have a nephew who has cerebral palsy. His twin died at birth, and he has cerebral palsy. And what the parents have gone through in raising him has been enormous. And I do know, for me personally, there are times that I go, thank you, God, that wasn't me. And yet I do know that Stephen is the most loving, joy-filled, humble, gracious, kind person on this planet. He came to help us all remember, because we forget. So I know, movies. We watched the movie Mac and Rita this week. It was a delightful story about a 30-year-old that finds herself in a 70-year-old's body. Now, I know there's a few of you that can't relate to that yet. Don't worry, you will. But some of us, even within a decade of that, can relate to the waking up and going, oh my goodness, what happened? How did I get into this body? and it was interesting because we got different things out of the movie, and I loved his perspective on the movie, because what he saw was this old soul, if you will, of this 30-year-old woman that had made this wish and woke up in a 70-year-old body. But what he saw was that it gave her the freedom to be who she really wanted to be, because she really wanted to live life more like a 70-year-old woman than a 30-year-old woman. And if you think about it, I know you guys, you probably don't have this, but for women, 30s are very much about, you're judging yourself constantly. Well, I can say getting this close to 70, we do it a whole lot less. Thank goodness. And that freedom to actually be who you are is kind of fun. It's one of the fun parts about being a little bit older for me. And so it was really fun to watch this young woman who literally, had been 30 and woke up 70, and to watch her embrace and develop into what that means, to have the freedom to be who we really are, because she didn't have any thoughts that other people were judging her. They could see a quirky, strange 70-year-old woman, and that was expected. That was normal. It was quite delightful. Because how many of us actually live life really being who we really want to be, being our true, humble, authentic self, stepping into that realization and that remembering and that absolute truth of who we are? Well, we all have permission to, because that's what that omnipotent love that surrounds us and enfolds us and embraces us always gives us permission to do, to be who we really are, to say who we really what we really feel and to act as if we really know who we are. Because we do. Down deep inside, we do. That eternal presence is right there. All we have to do is tap in and believe and know and trust. That trust. The bane of fear is trust. Trust that we are more beloved than we can even imagine. I had a talk with my 95-year-old mother this week, who has congestive heart failure. And she is in the end stage of congestive heart failure. My mother is very stiff upper lip, you know, good old British background. And you don't talk about those things with my mother. But somehow, you know, every time I see her, I think it might be the last. Every time I talk to her on the phone, I think it might be my last. So in preparation for all of this, I guess it was percolating through my mind to be who I really am. I broached the difficult subject with her. So, Mom, how do you feel about the doctor telling you that you will die sooner than later? And she says, I'm okay. I'm at peace with it. I'm really okay. She says, my big fear is that I will strangle, because she's coughing so much with the congestive heart failure, that I will strangle and that I will die a painful death. And I worked very hard to convince her that my mother is one of the most kind, loving, sweet-natured people on the planet. Unless you were a kid and did something wrong, but we won't go there. And that my wish for her has been that she dies in her sleep. I got to tell my mother that. And she cried and she said, thank you. I hope I can live up to what you believe of me. And then she had a discussion about what God might want. And so then I had to step into my truth and tell her what I believe that God wants. And that I do believe that the spirit of universal love will take her in her sleep peacefully. And so every morning I wait for the text from my mother to know whether that happened or not. And to tell you the truth, I'm kind of a little sad when I get the text. I know that we will all miss her, but I know how much pain she is in. And I do know that when she is fully ready to let go, she will. And I do know that if a more painful leaving the planet is what her soul needs to feel whole, that is what she will experience. I have too many years as a midwife, and I watched mothers giving birth to realize that when you're giving birth onto the planet, it's where your head is at, how long your labor is going to be, and how easy that kid comes into the world. First mothers tend to take a while. They know, not sure about being mothers. And I do know that the birth to that greater unknown is exactly the same way. And there's nothing to fear either way, whether you're birthing something in here or you're birthing out to something else. You don't know what it is when you come into the world. You don't know what it is when you're going to a different expression either. But then we go back to that faith, back to that trust, back to that love, back to that knowing that there is only one, and that one love is all there is, and it can't be anything else. So any judgment that we have is ours, not the divine's. Any fear that we have is ours, not the divine's. Anytime we want to adjust that rear view mirror with those woulda, shoulda, couldas, that's us, not the divine. And I should have known originally that this talk was actually going to be about judgment, because that's how the title came out. You know, I speak occasionally for Ron, and so sometimes different things will hit me, and I have a book that I write down thoughts, and I'll just write down like the start. And so I have, 5 or 6, none of them actually fit into this, go figure, but different starts. And so I was thinking, but he had asked me to speak on this one, and there were some of those that were floating through my mind, which one was I going to use? And the title was actually born out of judgment, because we were coming back from somewhere. It was late at night, and there was a car behind us that had its lights on really bright, although I didn't realize that because I didn't have the mirror staring in my eyes. And he's trying to adjust the rear view mirror. Well, as a physical therapist, I rehabbed a lot of people who've been in car accidents. So sometimes high speed on the car, I get a little annoying. Would you say that's a fair word? Okay, a lot annoying. Like, don't touch your phone, let me do it. No, let me adjust the radio. No, nothing that's going to take his focus off of what's going on around us, because I know in a split second what has happened to people. And yeah, okay. So there's my fear coming in. And so as he's adjusting the rear view mirror, and I'm thinking, well, don't adjust your rear view mirror, look out the windshield. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, there it is. So I should have realized it was about judgment and trust at the time. It took me days of writing before I figured that out. That is actually the way it goes sometimes too, right? I'm not the only person, right, who has had this thought in mind for where I wanted to go and how I wanted to step forward. And all of a sudden I find a very circuitous path. And it was like, well, how did that happen? But what I found was that divine energy always had my back. As we said after Wanda burned up just a little more than a year ago, it's always a gift, even if it's in charred wrapping paper. It's always a gift, because I don't believe in a divine energy that gives us lessons. That's more a parent thing, that we try to make God a parent. And actually, if you go with George Lambsa's traditional movement of the words in the Bible, where we say Father, it was actually, the word was actually beloved. Beloved makes a whole lot more, opens up than Father does, right? Because Father, I think, is what allows us as humans to say, oh, well, this is how my father acted, so that's how God's going to act towards me. Yeah, that isn't how it works. But if we think of beloved, how does a beloved act towards us? If we have a beloved, if we're somebody's beloved, or somebody is our beloved, how do they act? Loving, kind, something that you can trust, leave fear behind. Sorry, I just had a picture. I realized this talk is probably what we used to call a Dr. Lloyd talk. He was a magnificent minister at Mile High and had this big, robust voice with this gorgeous Jamaican accent. And he would tell you you were magnificent. And the way he would say that just made you believe it down to your toes. But when he would speak, it took a circuitous route. You had to kind of figure out where he was going and where he was saying, probably because it was stream of consciousness, kind of like this, salient notes to look at and go, oh yeah, I missed that point. So last night when I got stuck, back to movies, when I got stuck and I had all this stuff in my brain and I had so many note cards, you'd have been here all week. And watching Marvel movies is always a metaphysical experience for me. Truly, it is. I can see all kinds of divine inspiration in a Marvel movie. So we sat down with dinner to watch, and we watched Deadpool. Yeah, I got nothing. It didn't work at all. So, but when I'm not looking for those spiritual messages, they're always everywhere. I can see them in the traffic on the street. I can see them in the birds that fly. I can see them everywhere. Not in Deadpool last night. Go figure that. Anyway. If you leave here with anything other than knowing, I'm going to call and remind her to bring her notes and her books next time she speaks. Please do. If I can leave you with anything, it is to remember to trust that spirit, Allah, divine, source, God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't care. Always, always has your back. Always, always loves you, no matter what. There is nothing that you can do or nothing that you can not do that would stop that, that would change that. You can trust. You can trust. And so in this place of trust, I would like to invite you into another prayer. If we could allow our gaze to soften or our eyes to close. I know, and I know that I know that I can trust, that I can believe, that I have absolute faith in Source surrounding me, breathing me, living life through me. And in this absolute oneness, I know that's all there is. So I remember to remember in times of stress, in times of feeling fractioned or frantic, that I can instantly breathe in and remember who I am. And it is in that remembering who I am that I show up as who I really am, that I show up as the source of all love, as all wisdom, as all kindness, as all compassion, as all magnificent beauty. And so it is.